on, guys? JD at JD's Custom Buggies. So this is build video number 3. Oh, forgot about this one, didn't you? On the VMS Sandsniper. This is going to be the number 26 for MBX. So it has been a while. I believe I started it somewhere in the middle of the MBX season, and of course, season's over, and there comes a time where I don't want to look at a buggy for probably a couple weeks. Hence the ATC build, because that was sitting here, and it was something different, just to decompress. And then we bought some property, so that's kind of been a work. We made 2 trips up there. The second trip was just a dump and run to stop and drop some stuff off last weekend. So this week I was pretty much at the mindset where I need to really jump on this thing and get it going. So the hardest part about it is, or about this particular thing was at first, I have to admit, we got it all cut up and had this big ugly tub, and it's kind of uninspiring. And I probably spent more time staring at this thing than actually putting work, the work that you see here in it. It was just a matter of, like any build, you got to find an idea. And part of my struggle is not duplicating the same idea. Not that I could with this, because it is, it started out as a completely different buggy than I'd ever done before. So once, I took a tape measure and started looking, stand back. Sometimes I'll hold some pieces of tubing up to it and let me look at this, let me look at that. Something will snap, or like a switch will go off my head. So I came in on Monday and forced myself to stare at this thing. And then by Tuesday I had an idea. Then by Wednesday it was like, yeah, this is where we're going with it. So the biggest struggle that I had at first was I have gotten myself into using or building the B style, I guess, if you guys have buggies, like a crossfire or a joiner style A-arm, where it kind of is basically a V, and it'll come out here and have another hind joint that'll lock in there. I kind of like it. I have to admit, for me, it's not the hardest build in the world to do that. I do like the way buggies like that handle. I've had good luck with it. Basically the 321 has that style of A-arm. I put that on there. The 45's got that style of A-arm. The 52 started out as a crossfire, so that was the easy thing. The mounts are already on it. I just used the stock mounts and built different arms and spindles for it. So I kind of gotten into that pattern. So that wasn't working out on this one, and the reason why is, A, I have to keep width in mind. I try to keep these at 5 feet, 60 inches. The other thing is that the tub itself, where we ended up cutting it, and okay, this was what we left this is what I left myself with to work with. It didn't lend itself to that. Anywhere I had put the post, and the hardest part about making the arms are easy. The hardest part is mounting them. You basically, the front mounts are going to be easy, but when you land the rear mount, you're at a different angle with a lean, and it's really, really hard and takes a lot of measuring, especially on something like this and half the buggies that, I'm building in here, because you got no reference point. So you're kind of in midair taking measurements, off the nearest thing. And the other issue with using these buggies to start out with is the measurements are never the same on both sides. So what I didn't like about it is where the back end of this arm was going to land. It just nothing was doing it for me. So I decided I hadn't really built a race buggy with just A-arms other than Yerf dogs. So I was like, I'm going to make this an A-arm buggy. I really don't think, I think it can be done where it's going to handle just as good. A lot of it basically is, the geometry with the A-arm and the spindles, the rack pinion in the tie rod, as far as the turning, where the tie rod is going to land on the spindle. So I was like, let's go for it. So once I got that established, I already had this framework done. In fact, I think this framework was in the last video. I think I held it up. I'm not sure, but I made this framework here for the front mounts, and I made it so it just basically fit right over the center here. I wanted to move it as far forward as I could because I was worried about clearance here when turning. So once I got that down, I made the rear mounts and basically, you know, got everything to line up and then built the A-arms to it. So we just went with a standard 2-point A-arm on each side, kind of reminiscent to, you know, most ATVs, buggies, Earth dogs, you know, where these mounts are going to be parallel. And then once I came up with that, it's been pretty much smooth sailing. So I got our framework in here. I tied it in so it's reinforced. I still have a lot of welding to do. Then we got the rear mounts put on there. Again, this is a mess down here, but I just ran a piece of flat stock that won't be in my way. I still have to tie this into the frame. And basically got everything so my mount points are lined up. And then just started tying reinforcement pieces. Brought these pieces into here. So I mean, this is rock solid. You should be able to drop this off the roof of a building, and I'd be surprised if any of this tweaked. But after I just committed to this style of A-arm and whatnot, it was pretty smooth sailing. And it was like, all right, can I get this to look good? And the more I was working on it, the more this empty, ugly shell started to fill up and started looking legit. So I ended up having some Fox podiums. Decided I'm going to use them. I love these shocks for front shocks. They can be had on eBay for anywhere, depending on the condition of them. I've been buying them for years. They're actually pretty good replacement shocks for like crossfires in the front. The mounts are going to be wider. There will be some modifications if you put them on a crossfire, especially with the top mount. Lower mounts are kind of easy. You could just hack them off and widen it. But the top mount, the way it's incorporated in the frame, gets a little trickier, but they're about the same length. In fact, there might be a 1/4 inch shorter than a stock shock. So, but they're great shocks for the money. These shocks came stock on both the older Polaris Predator and there's another model, Predator and, it's escaping me. Darn it. I'll think of it and mention it in the next video. But if you look up Polaris Predator, there was two sport quads that they made, Predator being one, and I can't remember the other. But they were basically Polaris' version of the sport quad. One had rear independent suspension, one had front, but they used the same front shock. Excellent front shock for buggies. You can even use them in the rears. I believe on a 45, I got them on all 4 corners. So they'll work great, cushy ride. Everybody who used them had them. Good feedback. So they're excellent shocks. So decided to simplify the shock mount. Everything is basically rock solid as far as, you know, plumb, level, square. We noticed with the level, there's a little bit of hump in this middle section here. I'm going to run another bar to run the steering shaft too, so I'm not going to depend on how straight this is. And then even with these bars, we noticed that, you know, one kind of, the measurement's a little off, but we worked around everything. Once I have my own framework here and I know this part is level, even if the buggy's a little off, this is what I'm using for my point of reference. You know, I try to make sure this bar, the rear bar, and this thing are all level. And then from there, I expect the side bars, the floor pan to be a little tweaked. That's usually how they run anyway. So far, really happy with this. Width was going to be another issue. I started making the arms. The arms were going to end right here where this curve comes. I was going to put the bung for the ball joint right there. I decided to extend it and sleeve it, to give it a little added strength. So I'm using 083 1-inch tubing for the arms, and then I actually have it sleeved with a 120 wall 1 1/4 inch tube, which basically is an 1/8 inch wall, so the inner diameter is an exact inch. The bung was an inch. So what I did is I sleeved that over and then tied this, knot this for 1 1/4 and tied that in there just to give it a little bit added meat on the end, which I've done before. Actually, Lucifer has a similar deal that I did, and the arms are straight and true, never had an issue. Lucifer's much heavier and faster and more powerful buggy, so you're looking at about a 900 plus pound buggy with a 400cc 60 horse Polaris 2-stroke in it. Never had an issue. I've bent heim joints on it. I had a Kano heim joints, and I've bent the heim joints. I've never bent the arms. So the front end of this is really tough. Got our spindles made. We already got our brake mounts ready to go. So basically, this is basically it's going to fit a crossfire hub on it with the brakes, so everything should line up real good. These spindles ended up being super heavy duty, so shouldn't have any issues there. So I'm really happy with the front end so far. It's going fairly quick. I think I started really hammering down on this on Wednesday afternoon. Didn't work on it yesterday, which was Sunday. Today's Monday afternoon, and we're up to the spindles and everything. So all this framework, shock mounts, spindles, and getting started on this is usually the hard part, because there's just a lot of measuring, a lot of thinking. Do I want to go this way? And kind of, you don't want to paint yourself in a corner. So once the process starts going, it just ends up being a lot smoother. So super happy. So what's the next step? Next step is going to be, I'm going to get the rack, get our tie rods in. The other thing I did want to mention that I didn't is, we have a wheel sitting here. Because I want to see how it looked, because the whole thing takes on a different look with a wheel and tire on it. The other reason is I wanted to take a measurement. We're right around 30 and a quarter, 30 and a half or something from center to the outside of the tire. I want to be in that 60-inch range. I think we're going to be there, because nothing's bolted on. I had nothing tight over here with the wheels just hanging on the studs. So I'm pretty sure that once everything is clapped together, that we're going to be right at 60 inches, which is where I want to be. Like I said, I was going to end this arm here. I decided to give it a little extra. I was hoping I wasn't going to shoot myself in the foot width-wise, because in my mind, that's kind of where it needed to be, and it's right about there. So I didn't want it to be too narrow and then not have clearance for the tire to turn and hit this, hit the tub. So we don't have an issue there. So the next step is going to be getting the tie rods on, so I can basically turn this wheel and it turns the other wheel. And then at that point, I'm probably going to call Justin, the owner, in and set him up for a fitting where he comes in, basically gets in the seat, and we'll talk about the seat in a second, gets in the seat, and we just get some tape measures, and I put a steering wheel in his hand, and he pretends that he's racing, you know what I mean? But I want to make sure that the pedal junction and the steering wheel is where he's comfortable with it. I could probably, he's about my height, I could probably get in there and do it myself, but I'd rather have him just come in and sit in it and take the measurements so I can get it somewhat close. He might be shorter, he might be a little taller, I can't remember. So, as far as the seat goes, it's a Razor seat. He ended up, I told him to pick one up on eBay, he did. So, what we did, and I know this has become really popular lately, especially on Facebook, putting Razor seats in these, which are awesome. The reason why I love the Razor seats is because, you have that space between the back pad and the seat pad, and water, mud, dirt. It's just nothing gathers up here. It's not like a bucket of crud here. It just slides right out of the back of the seat. That's why I never change the Razor seats out in my Razor. Because cleaning wise, the washing and this and that, and even when you're out in the trails riding, let's say you get splashed with mud, usually any dirt, mud, this, that, water, it rolls off. If it rains, it's rolling off the back. The seat's usually pretty dry. So, dry and clean. So, what we do, what we've done with just about every buggy, if you go back on the videos as far as Dave's got a race seat in the 321, but I actually did this to the 52 lately, and the 45, the 17, there's a couple other ones that we put Razor seats in. But basically, you take the frame, weld some flat stock to it, and make it so we can get to it with an impact gun. 4 3/8 bolts in each corner is usually good enough to hold it. What we're going to do in this case is we have these holes drilled a little forward, and then we have enough room to slide it back, We're going to use this for a template and drill another set of holes. So this way, back, forward. He's got 2 settings on the seat depending on where he likes it the best. But it's as simple as that. You buy the seat, you take the cushions off the seat. Well, some flat stock about, you might have to tie some stuff into your buggy at home. But I mean, they're fairly easy to put in there. I've actually tried, when I was working on the 91X, I had actually ordered like the high vis or neon yellow razor seat. I ordered 2 of them because I have to mod one. I want to put one in my Ace 900 because I just like the razor seat a little bit better than the Ace seat. But I already did a fitting and I have to modify it just because of the way the Ace is set up. But so I ordered 2 of them, and I was going to put one in the Europe, and I was going to put it in there with the quick release so I could just pull the latch and pull the seat out of the buggy when I needed to. But with that whole setup, it raises the seat up another inch, and my head would have been in the roll cage, so I couldn't do that. So I've kind of held off with putting the seat in the Earth Dog, but I might consider it because I'm getting older and the race seat is kind of harsh on my back sometimes. But so that's basically it with the seat. So we're all set up for him. Once I get the tie rods in and get the steering rack set up, before I start working on the cage, I want to get the pedals in there where I have plenty of room to work and set up for a steering shaft. So that'll be the next thing. So hopefully by the end of this week or the beginning of next week, we can get that set up because I'm going to be kind of stuck until we get that done. So I'll have to contact them and let them know. What I can work on, or what we can work on now, is probably once we get that part set up, we're going to yank out the swing arm, start modding the swing arm and getting that part done because that can come on, off, we can get it out of the way, but at least it's some work that we can get done. I can work on the motor from there till I can get him to get this. Once he gets in here and does this, I can work on the cage. I'm looking forward to working on the cage on this because and again, I'm going to spend a little time staring at it, but once I get on a roll with the cage will go fairly quick. I've built quite a few cages in here, basically in a day. So I assume that once we get the pedals in and all that, and I get the green light to get on the cage, that's going to go fairly quick. And that's where I have the most fun. If all I had to do was just cages, that I could be happy just doing roll cages. I just like to do them. So that's basically where we're at. So should be hopefully another video by the end of the week on this. My goal is to get this done. We have another trip planned to go back to the track in Tennessee for 10 days the last week of October. So that gives me a full week, not really, a full week from today probably, because I have to, pack and get ready for the trip. And then coming back, we'll be in the, so I'm going to say realistically, if everything goes smooth, first, second week in November, I'd like to have this done on the ground, taking baby steps, rolling it around the shop. Once it's on the floor, and we get the swing arm and the motor up to it and wire it, wiring is going to not take long. Motor, I basically have a motor prepped to go in here already, so I have the cases prepped with a race case system. I just have to basically assemble the motor. So that's where we're at. If you like what you see, thanks for tuning in. If you like what you see, subscribe and keep in touch. And if you need parts, go to gotbuggies.com and you'll get another video soon of this or the track. We'll see. Thanks a lot, guys. JD's out.